RBI మాజీ గవర్నర్ Raghuram Rajanతో ఇంటరాక్ట్ అయ్యారు రాహుల్ గాంధీ. ఇప్పుడు లైవ్ లో చూద్దాం.
And the workers, migrant workers, how should we be thinking about their finances?
Well, this is where I think the efforts we made on direct benefits transfers sort of needs to be realized at this point. All the ways we transfer to relatively poor people, we need to take a call on that. You know, we have different ways of accessing through widows' pensions, through the Manrega rolls, and we need to say, look, these are people who don't have a job right now, who don't have a livelihood. And for the next 3 or 4 months, while this uncertainty is on, we're going to support them. But in terms of the sort of priority, keeping people alive and keeping them from having to go onto the street, in protest or looking for work is probably useful at a time of lockdown. And so I think we need to find ways of getting both money as well as food through the public distribution system to as many of these people as we can.
तो डॉक्टर राजन कितना पैसा लगेगा गरीबों की मदद करने के लिए?
तकरीबन 65,000 करोड़
60,000
और 65,000 करोड़ इतना ज्यादा नहीं है. हमारा जीडीपी 200 लाख करोड़ है और उसमें 65,000 करोड़ इतना ज्यादा नहीं है, तो कर सकते हैं. और अगर ये गरीबों के लिए है और अगर उनका जिंदगी बचाने के लिए है तो करना चाहिए.
अभी तो देश संकट में है, मगर कोविड के बाद हिंदुस्तान को इस घटना से कोई फायदा भी होगा, कोई स्ट्रेटेजिक फायदा होगा, दुनिया में कोई बदलाव होंगे जिससे हिंदुस्तान को फायदा होगा या जिनकी हिंदुस्तान एडवांटेज ले सके? किस प्रकार से दुनिया बदलेगी आपके मुताबिक?
You know, these kinds of incidents rarely have positive effects for any country, in general. But there are ways countries can take advantage of them. And what I think we can say is that there will have to be a rethinking of everything in the global economy once we are out of this. If there is opportunity for India, it is in shaping that dialogue, in being more of a leader in that dialogue, because it is not one of the two big warring parties, but is a big enough country to hear its voice, to have its voice heard in the global economy. In this situation, India can find opportunities for its industry, for its supply chains, but most importantly, it can try and mold the dialogue towards one which has greater place for more countries in the global order, a multipolar global order rather than a single or a bipolar global order.
Don't you think there's a crisis of centralization? That there is too much centralization of power taking place and the conversations are stopping? I mean, I think conversations would help a lot of these problems that you're talking about. But it sort of breaks down for some reason.
I do believe that decentralization is important both for bringing more local information to work, something we talked about earlier, but also about giving empowerment to the people. What you see across the world is a great sense of disempowerment. Decisions are being made elsewhere, not by me.
Yeah.
I have a vote, but that elects somebody in a far-off place. My local sort of panchayat or state government has less power. They don't feel they can, alter anything. And so they become prey to a different set of force. I would ask you the same question. I mean, do you see this whole, Panchayati Raj which Rajiv Gandhi, the father, brought back. What effect has that had, and has that been beneficial?
It's had a huge effect, but I'm sorry to say it's in retreat. So a lot of the forward movement on Panchayati Raj that had taken place, we are now moving back to a sort of bureaucratic, BM-based structure or a bureaucrat-based structure. And if you look at the southern states, they are doing a better job because they are actually more decentralized. And the northern states are centralizing power, and they're taking away power from the panchayats and the sort of grassroots organization.
The closer decisions are taken to people, the more ability they have to keep a check on those decisions. So I think it's an experiment worth doing.
But what do you think is causing this at a global level? Why do you think we are having this sort of massive centralization and stopping a conversation? What do you think? There's a central cause, or do you think there are a number of?
I do think there is a cause, and I think it is the global markets. Right? There is a sense that if markets globalize, market participants, firms, for example, want to see the same rules everywhere. They want to see the same coordinating structure everywhere. They want to see the same government everywhere, because that then gives them confidence. That attempt at uniformity takes away power from the sort of local or national governments. Of course, in addition, there is the bureaucratic temptation to centralize. If I can grab the power, why not? And so that is a constant desire to, if you're providing funding to the states, here are the rules that you must obey in order to get this funding. Not, I will give you this funding, no questions asked, because I know you've also been elected, and you will have to have a sense of what is appropriate for you.
There's a new model also out, which is the authoritarian model, which is questioning the sort of liberal model, and it's a different way of doing work, and it seems to be more and more rising in more and more places. Do you think it's going to get pushed back?
I don't know, because the central authoritarian model, the strong figure, in a world where you're powerless, is sometimes appealing. Especially if you can develop a personal rapport with that figure, and you feel they believe in me. They care for the people. The problem with that is the authoritarian figure can develop their own sort of sense of, yes, I am the power of the people, and therefore whatever I say goes. My rules apply, not the checks and balances, not the institutions, not the decentralized structure. Everything is going to go through me. The sort of historically, what has happened is that has put too much weight on that center, and eventually that collapses.
But clearly, something has gone wrong with the global economic system. I mean, that's pretty clear, right? Would that be a fair statement?
I think that's a fair statement, that it's not working for a lot of people. The growing inequality of incomes and wealth in developed countries is certainly a source of the concern. The precariousness of jobs, the so-called precariat, is another source of concern. You have these gig jobs without any sense of whether you will have income tomorrow. And of course, we've seen during the pandemic, many of these people don't have any support. They have lost out on both incomes as well as their safety net. Therefore, what we have today is both a problem of slowing growth. So we cannot dispense with markets. We do need growth. But we also have a problem of stuck or inadequate distribution. People aren't getting the fruits of that growth in the same ways. Many people are being left out. And so we need to think about both sides. And that's why I think rather than focus on distributing output, distribute opportunity.
It's interesting that you said that infrastructure connects people, and that gives opportunity. But if there is division and hatred, that disconnects people. That's also infrastructure. There's an infrastructure of division and infrastructure of hatred, and that causes as big a problem.
Absolutely. I think social harmony is a public good. Having everybody believe that they're part of the system and equal part of the system is essential. We cannot afford to be a house divided, especially in these times when our challenges are so big. And so I would prefer to put, our founding fathers, people who wrote our constitution, and the early sort of administrations. That's something I've been spending some time sort of relearning. And those people realized that there were some issues which you wanted to put on a shelf and not touch. Because if we got into those issues, we would spend a long time fighting each other.
Also, you tend to divide and look backwards into history when you're struggling with a forward vision. So I think I like what you said about India needs a new vision. What would be the elements of that in your view? Of course, you mentioned in infrastructure, education, healthcare, but how would it be different than the last 30 years or 20 years? What would be the pillars that would be different?
Well, I think that on the one hand, you need to create capabilities. The elements of creating capabilities is, better education, better healthcare, better infrastructure. And remember, when we talk about creating these capabilities, we have to walk the talk. But we also, make no mistake, need to rethink what our industrial and market system looks like. We still have the remnants of the old license permit Raj.